Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this insightful discussion on metamorphosing IT operational frameworks. It's a pleasure to see such a diverse people here. Hope you had a great lunch and ready to energize this session. So to do so, please scan the QR code just around you. Do not hesitate to write down all your questions that you will be answering later. I will start to introduce myself. So, Khouloud, I'm an IT transformation expert and leader within Alenia. About 10 years of experience on implementing and transforming IT operating model. Joined Alenia UK since beginning of the year to develop as well the business there. So, today, with the fast-paced and ever-changing business landscape, the role of IT has evolved into a cornerstone of organizational success. So we all recognize that the role of IT production is not anymore like a support function. It's a driving force behind innovation, efficiency, and competitiveness. So, but behind this force comes a pivotal challenge. So how can we adapt our operating model to support the demand of agility, the rapid delivery, and the customer centricity? And how can we ensure that our IT systems are not only robust, but flexible enough to support and evolve with our businesses? So to answer all this question, we have gathered with us today two exceptional speakers with strong hands-on experience on reshaping IT operating model from diverse background and diverse perspective. So without further delay, Julien, could you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Julien Deneux. I'm the Integration and Support Director at Tracr. So I joined Tracr 3 years ago, and before that, I worked for BNP Paribas for almost 14 years. So I used to be IT front office application support, so supporting various applications for like trading and booking applications. So I started my career in Paris, and 3 years later moved to London. Yeah, I've worked for different front office desks, equity derivative, commodities, FX, and I've been helping the business, helping the migration of a lot of systems across my career, and then 3 years ago decided to leave the banking industry to start a new challenge.
Fabien?
Fabien, I'm the CTO and co-founder of Green-Got. We are building a neobank. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. Before that, I've navigated for the last 18 years in various sectors, and it did teach me how much your business context and any kind of other context is actually driving your operational systems and your framework. Just two small examples. The worst, and not the worst, but the extreme end of the spectrum, I worked for the National Center for Space Studies, CNES, 15 years ago. When I arrived there, they were finishing a project to land a rocket on a comet. I mean, it was landing. And it did land after 27 years of travel inside the solar system, in the vacuum of the solar system. And so the business logic was you put something on a server, industrial run for 27 years with 0 bug and 0 possible update, because that's something you launched in the 80s. So yeah, that's a constraint. And at the other end of the spectrum, I worked for Consensus. We did decentralized app for decentralized finance in a crypto environment. And there you put to production 10 times a day. And your users are more concerned with getting new features and stability. So the motto, move fast and break things, was really enforced, like break things. If you didn't break anything this week, I mean, you didn't move in fast enough. And we all stand at some point on that spectrum between a very waterfally thing, you have to get everything right at the first time, to you don't care, you're going to deploy in 5 minutes. And yeah, it drives the operational models more than anything.
Thank you. So before we dive into your insights, I would like to set the stage by answering some questions like where do you come from? If you can tell us, Julien, a bit of Tracr.
Sure. So Tracr has been created, funded by De Beers, who is a leading diamond producer. And this company has been created to solve a very important problem for the industry, the traceability of the diamonds. A lot of major actors of the industry were looking for a solution, a global solution, to guarantee the origin of each stone sold to their customers. And this is why Tracr has been created, to find the technology, to develop the technology to enable traceability for every single diamond. So at the very beginning, Tracr was a research and development project. It was not a commercial platform. They hire a few engineers, give them access to an AWS cloud, and some funds to answer to find solutions for few challenges across traceability. How to enable traceability for a Ross diamond, how to enable traceability of a polished diamond. There are different technologies and solutions for that, but how to glue everything and to create a coherent platform which can be used by an entire industry. As part of this journey, there was barely no process. The research and the developers hired for this project just spin up randomly some resources on the cloud, try to collect data from different partners, try to validate different scenarios. And at some point in 2020, they decided to launch a pilot at scale and try to validate a lot of assumption was made during the research phase. So I joined Tracr at that time, and in order to start to build a proper support function. So how to interface Tracr with the industry, how to support the customers, how to create a pipeline of data from the factories to the platform. So it's a very interesting challenge. This platform, this industry is not as digitalized than the bank or insurance. As you can imagine, here we are talking about manufacturer, diamond polishers. The challenge is really to be able to collect all the data we need in order to enable the traceability. So that's my role, basically, at Tracr, and how to integrate every single factory or to integrate any device they use within this industry to collect the data we require for a project.
The innovative processes that you are implementing today and the challenges behind for production?
Yes, so the first challenge we had was within the organization itself. Since it was a research and development platform, we had to reorganize the organization to integrate a proper support function. And in order to do that, I have to implement not only an organization to find the right tools, and also to integrate the support within the management, the organization with a proper reporting to the management. So that was the first challenge. The second challenge is obviously talking to the industry, how to onboard an industry which is spread it across the world. We have a big part of our clients which are based in India. India, it's not known, but India polished 98% of the diamond, especially in one city called Surat. And this is where most of the work we had to do during the pilot happened. And in order to do that, we need people to speak the same language. We need people to sit on the same time zone. So the first challenge was to build a proper support team locally to be able to enable the relationship basically between this client and Tracr.
Okay, Fabien, Green-Got, who are you? Where do you come from, and what kind of challenges are you facing today?
So the first time we talked about this, we realized that many years ago that banking was funding the fossil fuel industry in ridiculous proportion. So we went to Société Générale, BNP, which was the biggest one, and we told them, hey, we did count the money. I mean, I didn't, but people like Oxfam did count the money. And you did put 4 trillion euros in the fossil fuel industry since the Paris Accord, which is not exactly what we said we would do. And we asked them to change, and they say, oh, we have constraints. Not going to do that now. We have a roadmap for 2040. Great. So we say, okay, you know what, we're going to start a bank and steal your clients until you decide to change. At first it was a joke, and then, oh, we have something now. That's great, that's working. The first challenge you have when you start a venture like this one is that there is no real MVP. You cannot start things, break things, because you are part of the critical infrastructure of people's life. Our clients, every Saturday afternoon, they go with their family in a supermarket to buy groceries with a card. If the card is not working, it's not okay. we cannot say, oh, it's broken today. That's not possible. So we have the challenge of, we know what we have to build. We are not Société Générale. I work for them a little bit. There's 15,000 developers in-house. We have 15 people in a company. So how do you manage to build something with only 15 people? Well, no, we are more than 40, but how do you manage to build that with that few people? And the answer is new production model that are allowed by essentially the cloud infrastructure. I'm talking serverless, essentially on AWS, temporal, which is managing processes, and all the third-party providers that are going to eat the complexity and are going to take the hits when there is an SLA issue, and that are going to, yes, do that for us. And yeah, that was the main challenges. And the idea that you can start at a speed that have never been achieved before, thanks to the cloud providers. In minutes, you have an infrastructure that is up and running, and that is more reliable than what you can do by yourself. I mean that we go in an absolute no-ops organization, because no one is running the ops. The model is, you don't manage servers. You write the code, and you write the description of the infrastructure, and you give it to your provider, and they start up the machine, they run the code. If something goes wrong, they manage it, which is great and allows us to start something. Yeah.
Okay, so the ability to align and then transform, is that what sets apart the success for organization, right? So Julien, in Tracr, how did you align your IT organization with your business?
Yeah, so technology is essential, especially for a small company like us, and being able first to spin up services as close as possible of our client was the main driver for the deployment of our technology. And of course, using a cloud technology like AWS really enabled us to deploy as fast as possible all the services we require for the integration of our data. Automation as well is a key element for us. We are a company of 50 persons. All the functions of a company are within Tracr: finance, ops, HR, marketing. IT is really a small portion of the total number of persons working at Tracr. And that's why we need to be efficient. We need to automate as soon as possible and avoid any manual task. And that's why automation, template, CI/CD have been at the core of what we did in terms of technology to enable the team to release as fast as possible all the features required by the business.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Fabien, how far automation and cloud technology have helped you to enable your transformation? And I know that you are cloud native, so how did you do all of this?
For us, it's not exactly a question of transformation, because we start from nothing. So we create more than we transform at the beginning. But now we start transforming. The first iteration of the services that we provided to the clients were not, in my point of view, good enough. We started to be good enough. It was not good enough. For instance, really stupid situation. You go to Germany, it's the first day of the month, you start the first transaction, it's not working because more than 30% of the transactions of the month are cross-border. And we cannot do anything because it's the rules of our provider. So we know that we need to manage the authorization in-house. But when you start, you don't have the manpower to do that. So the alignment was mostly, I have that much manpower and that much money to do things, and I have that much things to do. And how are we going to match them? And automation is key because that is the thing that allows you to have less regressions in your production. And if you don't automate things, if you start doing ClickOps and that kind of thing, you're going to lose so much time that you're never going to be able to deliver things consistently and to reach your goals. Yeah.
Okay. While transforming your team, what are the strategy in Tracr to maintain the scalability and the reliability of your platform, as it's a digital platform? So what was the strategy there?
So I suppose for Tracr, it was first a matter of training for the team. So having, for me, a good support team who knows very well about the platform, the component, how everything interacts, allow us to be reactive, allow us to bring a new level of quality to our customers. Also, it helps as well the development team when they have to ship something in prod, being here to advise on what would be the best practice here, how we will be able to improve the reliability of our service is really a key factor for me. We have very little number of persons which are doing support and production, application production support at Tracr. We need to make sure that everything we receive in our product environment has been correctly designed. So we have this feedback loop between support, product development, developers, which allow us to be very agile. And every time something goes wrong, we can provide some feedback to the development team, and we can expect things to improve quite quickly.
Do you have something to add in the strategy for maintaining scalability?
I'm cheating because I've been extremely lucky with the early hires. And yeah, but we are transitioning to a model where I was ridiculously lucky with my first employees. And so we have heroes that were able to do anything, to a situation where we need to onboard more and more and more people, and we need more processes. And documentation I think is the most important thing. Because no one knows, if you're not the one who did implement the business rules, you don't know it works. And if it's not documented, next time you do something, you're going to break something and you don't know why. And yeah, that's where automation comes to your help, because if you automate, you are going to ensure that if you break something, you know it. Yeah.
Okay. So we now will shift our focus on a pivotal aspect, which is how we can foster innovation and collaboration. So in Tracr, as you do a lot of remote work, as well as in Green-Got, it's full 100% remotely. You don't have an office, okay? And so how did you break the silos? How can you keep the knowledge sharing between your teams and squad? And what is your recipe to have an effective communication between your teams?
So I think there are two aspects for that. The first one is almost none of us had any experience with the diamond industry. So in order to build something for this industry, we need to know them. We need to know each actors. And we really encourage everyone to face our client, not only support, not only the commercial team, but also the product owner, the QA team, developers, even DevOps. We really encourage everyone to meet our client. We have clients across Europe. We have clients in Asia. When there is a trade show, we try to send every time 1 or 2 persons to meet face-to-face the client. And then how to share this knowledge, the knowledge we gather when we meet our client across the organization. This is where we transform Tracr recently by implementing 2 squads of engineers. Each squad is a combination of product owner, designer, developers, QA, DevOps, support. Everyone is integrating within the squad. And we have 2 of them. One for the core component, what we call Tracr Network, and another squad for all the applications we are now building on top of Tracr. And by creating this squad, we improve the communication between all the functions in the squad, and we know that the knowledge is spread and shared much better than having silos like we used to have before this implementation. Yeah.
And Fabien, is there any tool, do you recommend any tool which have been effective in your team to foster this collaboration?
I think we didn't do anything very innovative there. We have Slack for sharing and Notion for the documentation. The key point for me is to foster a culture of writing. And that one matters to me. When you are talking to people live and you're having a discussion, most of what you're saying is parasite. You are using the person in front of you as a feedback, and you are throwing ideas, and depending on how they answer, you're going to modify what you say. And in the end, if you did talk for an hour, there's maybe 10 minutes of something really valuable. And if you do that in a meeting with 20 people, you're going to waste so much time. So what we encourage are RFCs. RFCs are a very ancient and common practice in the web world. This is a request for comments. You write what you think would be a good idea. Let's change the way transactions are monitored in blah, blah, blah. And then people are supposed to comment on it. And when you are in front of your screen, in front of a white page, you're going to, this is your rubber ducky. Like, I don't know if some of you had this thing. It was a trend at some point to talk to a rubber ducky when you were debugging something. And you're going to bounce ideas to your screen, and like maybe 75% of what you're writing, you're going to read it and say, oh, actually, this is kind of stupid. And you're going to remove it. And you're going to keep only what makes sense, what is relevant. And you're going to reduce the time that you're going to take from other people. That is very important in terms of quality of your output. And the second point is that way nothing is lost. Notion is extremely well made when you need to search for something. Anything, there's a very good full text search engine behind that. I don't know what it is, but it works very well. And we don't lose any information. They are kept. And that is very important in a remote settings. And in that remote settings, the most important thing that I found, the manager needs to be remote too. If the manager is in a building with people around him, the manager is going to start talking with those people, and all the other ones that are remote are going to be excluded from the conversation. So either everybody in the same room or no one in the same room is very important to me.
Thank you, Fabien. Okay, so behind your journey on reshaping IT operating model, is there any recommendation to share, or maybe a moment that you would like to share, and what are the lessons learned behind?
Maybe a personal experience where basically it was maybe 6-7 years ago. I arrived one morning, it was in my previous role at BNP Paribas, and I sit at my desk and I got this 6 very large screen to monitor all the application we have in production. And I think, it's mental. Why do we need so much application? Why do we need so much screen to monitor this entire prod? I say, oh, if I could start from scratch, and I would change this, and I would implement this tool, and I have so many ideas to make our work much more efficient. And 4 years ago, I got the opportunity to really start from scratch an entire support function, implement the tool I needed, to choose the tool I need, and I was so excited to start from scratch. Because, finally, I will be able to do it. I will be able to implement the system. I know it's going to work. But it's so overwhelming because you have to support your business. It takes time to implement all the process, all the tools you need, and you need to prioritize. And that's the challenge I had to face when I joined Tracr, is how to start from scratch without being lost in a lot of decision and details. And I do not regret at all. I think it was it's a fantastic experience. But indeed, all decision needs to be taken carefully. It's very easy to choose a lot of tools, to try to test different things. But at the end, we are a small company. We need to be efficient. And for that, we need to be careful with our priority and the choice of tools. It's an interesting experience. When you come from the banking industry, you have all these best practice. You want to you learn to be how to be proactive, how to react quickly on an alert, how to answer very quickly to your traders or your client. All these best practice, I'm trying to bring this culture into my new company. And for the diamond world, it's a new experience. In this world, support usually is very slow. It takes a lot of time. I think we are one of the only company who would respond within an hour to the client, and it's a big change. And we usually receive a lot of positive feedback when we ask for feedback to our clients. So definitely implementing this best practice, everything we learned in the banking industry is a win for any new industry, basically.
Fabien, any recommendation or anything you would have done differently, maybe?
Yeah, I would have. Okay, I'm a firm believer in MDSE, model-driven software engineering. What I think that you should do, if your system is supposed to last more than a few months, is to write more models than you write codes and to have generators. And generated codes is something that is so much easier to maintain and so much easier to evolve that, yeah, I think that this is the first takeaway. Then don't forget the Conway's law. When you have an organization that is designing a system, the system is going to be designed roughly according to the organization communication system. And if you want to make sure that your modules are depending on abstractions and not concretion, make sure that no one in the other module know the details of the implementation. It's not secret, but you have to take care of that. And finally, all the advices may not apply to your particular use case, so I would take them all with cautions.
Okay. So final question. So what do you see as a trend for the near future for the IT organization? What will be the challenges and the trends nearly?
Good question. I suppose for us, we still need to mature all our observability and alerting model. That's something we largely overlook for the moment, and we really need to improve our maturity here. I don't like to operate blindly. It's really the worst scenario. And I think now we are reaching a moment where our cloud infrastructure is getting mature enough to start to heavily invest on these best practices. Our platform, within our technology, we use machine learning. We develop some custom algorithm for the identification of diamonds. We have data scientists working with us as well, and I'm sure in a near medium future, AI could be something we could use as well for our production process. That's something could be worth exploring as well. Yes.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm a little bit biased in that, but the security part of the organization is something that is going to change, that has started to change, but that is going to keep changing due to the more and more work at home thing. When I look at all the plans for disaster recovery and everything, what you get in that is fire hazard, what happens if your landline is down, in which, like, when you look at all the plans from the regulators, you see, okay, doesn't apply, but things have to apply. And yeah, I think that the evolution with DevSecOps and global organization security is probably the thing that is going to change the most in next few years. And yes, AI is going to have an impact on everything, but yeah.
Okay, let's go to the Slido for some questions. First one, very interesting one. Julien, do you have rebates on diamonds?
I won't answer this question, sorry.
Okay. What advice would you offer to organizations looking to leverage cloud technology for better data management and analysis based on your own experiences? Whoa.
Fabien, do you want to?
Sorry, I didn't get the question. For better data management.
Wow.
Okay, go to the next one.
No, we can answer.
No, yeah.
Fabien?
Okay. Pay attention to the fact that the managed technologies come at a cost, which are the observability of the process. I don't know what data you want to check, but if you are working serverless, which is the absolute end of the spectrum, you have basically zero way. You cannot SSH into your server that you don't manage. You cannot have elevated privileges. You cannot administrate the systems. So it's like, I don't know, it's like eating, you take like things that are not the cutlery and you eat like this with a proxy on everything. So pay attention to that you have no access to the lower level. Yeah, otherwise you have more and more managed things for things that are complex, like managing properly a ELK stack is complex, and you have a lot of things that are layers over that. Like I think of a service called Metabase. Metabase is awesome. You plug Metabase to a database that you replicated from your source of truth, and it allows, with no code, your people that are not engineers in your company to make extracts. And yeah, no-code tools are great in that sense.
Okay, next one. What strategies have you implemented to maintain effective knowledge sharing among geographically dispersed employees?
I can answer. So we have a team based in India. The rest of the team is based mainly in UK. We have a little bit of people working in a different European country. And what we are doing now, one of the best practices we try to implement is to heavily use Confluence and our audience to gather all the knowledge and share the knowledge. Let me explain. So basically, every time we meet clients, every time we go to a trade show, every time we even gather internally to discuss about a specific problem to solve, we use the same template of a document in the wiki, for instance, Confluence for us, to specify the problem, to document the different solution, and finally, what was the key element to help us to choose among one solution or another. And by standardizing the documentation, we've been able to create a framework which can be now used across all the different teams. And what we do on top of that is we have a regular meeting with our across all the teams, across all the region, to review all these documents on a regular basis. And we encourage everyone to put comments. We make sure that everyone read this document, because in the past, I mean, it's very easy to take a decision and do not keep any trace of that. That's what happened in the past at Tracr. And to avoid this now, we really force ourselves to put everything in a wiki and make sure that the entire team has access to the document. So everyone knows when a decision is taken, on which basis we took this decision.
How has the use of cloud technology impacted the scalability and flexibility of your data infrastructure? Good question.
Yeah.
Fabien, you want to answer this one?
Oh, it's like it's a 0 to 1 thing. If basically if you are not in the cloud, Every time you have an issue, you have to take a new rack, put in your server bay, and yeah, there you are. When you're in the cloud, you just provision one more server. So it's just you go from you don't have it to you have scalability and flexibility. So it's just
For us, yeah, definitely most of the clients are based in Asia for the moment, and it was very easy for us to just spin up a new Kubernetes cluster in Mumbai or in Hong Kong in order to host all the critical service and be as close as our client as possible. That was a key. It's a key element because we capture a lot of data. Each client overnight can send dozens of gigabytes of data in area where the bandwidth can be very, very low. So this is why it's very important for us to be able to deploy our service the closest possible of our client. And using a cloud technology is really the best way to achieve this.
I have one for you, Julien. How did you manage the transition from the old processes to the new framework without disruption ongoing project or services?
That's a good one. So basically, I mentioned that in 2020 we started a pilot, which lasts almost 2 years. And in February 2022, we deployed our the commercial version of Tracr. The way we transition from this pilot platform to the new one is we kept all the interface from the pilot to not disrupt any flow of data with our client. And then integrate all the data within the new platform. I think that was the key for the success of this migration and the transition, because, like I said, this industry is not highly digitalized. To get a proper integration with Tracr, it can take time, sometimes many months. So disrupting and breaking a data flow would have been very damaging for the business. So that's why we took the decision to maintain the same interface and just to route the data to a different place and be able to transition everyone to this new commercial platform.
Thank you. And Fabien, as you are concerned by this one, by using a full remote model, how do you make sure that you keep a sense of belonging within the company?
okay. On that one, we are cheating a little bit. We have people that are applying with us are already on board with the mission. So, yeah, I guess this one is easy for us. So I don't think I have a very good advice. Oh, start a company with a clear mission, and if people want to join you, yeah. Okay. No, it's mostly about. What I've seen is that when people are not used to work remotely, it's a dead end. So it's yeah, I guess you can do whatever you want in terms of processes. It's mostly a hiring question.
I agree with Fabien. We used to be almost on site every day before COVID, and during COVID, obviously, we had to switch immediately to this full remote model. And over time, we could see that some people struggled with this remote model and wanted to leave the company. We hired people who were willing to do full remote work, and we could really see the difference because this person had, the mindset. They know how it is to work remotely, and we could clearly see the difference with the new hired who choose to work remotely, and that made a big difference. Yeah.
I don't think that's for everyone. It makes sense for. I went in the countryside. I live in Normandy now, in the middle of the cows and the fields. My daughters are very happy. I can have lunch with my wife. It's perfect. I love my coworkers, but less than my wife. So yeah, no. It's a people question, and I think that some companies should not do that, and some people should not be remote. They have to go to the office every day. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all. We finished all the questions. So thank you for your participation, and thank you.